Oh, jeez.
Alright guys, so let's have a quick look at this reel and see how it has fared in the last 12 months. When I originally purchased this reel, I was intending to use it only for freshwater use. But as it usually happens with me, I buy these reels, I promise myself I'm not going to use them on saltwater, but I do end up using them on saltwater. So the good news is, this reel has survived the last 12 months of everything that I've been putting it through. So let's start with the freshwater stuff. When it comes to freshwater fishing, what I have been usually using this for mostly, or I would say 99% of the time, is for throwing lures. I'm usually targeting, Asiatic tarpon, ladyfish, barramundi, and other freshwater species, including knifefish, which are invasive to Sri Lanka, by the way. And I'm happy to say that this reel has handled everything that I've managed to throw at it without any issues. I mean, freshwater, inshore, saltwater, it's had absolutely no problem in handling any of that type of fishing and any of that type of fish that I catch in those kind of fishing environments. You know, I haven't really done any maintenance on this reel at all. It's basically just wash, oil these little few places, store it and reuse. And it's been faring really well, and as you can see, it's super smooth still. Look at that. I mean, it takes hardly any effort to spin the handle, and it's still as smooth as it was on day one. Now, you guys would have noticed that I have swapped the handles because this originally comes with, one of those little pedal type handles, and I prefer the little ball, a little slightly larger ball handle for better grip. That's just personal preference. But other than that, the only other thing that I've upgraded in this reel is the drag washers. Now, the OEM drag washers are felt drag washers, and I have upgraded them to Carbontex drag washers. And apart from that, this reel I've just been fishing it the way I got it from Daiwa, and it's been doing really well. I mean, in freshwater and inshore applications, I've caught fish up to maybe 14, 15 pounds in size, and believe me, this tiny reel has had no issues tackling those fish. The drag has performed well, the reel has performed well, it was smooth during the fight. You don't hear any funky noises, or there's no excessive play anywhere, and I'm quite pleased to report that for I think I paid like $120 or $115 for that price. This reel has been just fantastic. The reel originally had some issues with line lay. It was a little top heavy, but I added a spool shaft and that sorted it out. And I haven't experienced any wind knots with this reel. It's been casting great. I'm using 10-pound braid for freshwater, and I actually got an extra spool so that I can load this up with 15-pound braid for inshore and saltwater use. So this way I can use the same reel. I just have to interchange the spools and I'm good to go. And as you can see, the last time I filled the braid, I've actually filled it quite a bit. It's almost to the point of being overfilled. But again, I've been casting this non-stop for a while now. I haven't had any issues with, wind knots or anything like that, which are typically associated with an overfilled spool. So line management seems pretty good, apart from the fact that I had to add one washer, and that corrected the line lay. Yeah, and I got to say, guys, out of all the reels that I have, and this is a personal preference again, I really love the way this reel looks, and the fact that I use this 99% of the time for casting lures. This means that I'm constantly holding the reel in my hand, and the Fuego, because of the LT frame, is super light. I mean, this 2500 size reel is 7.9 ounces out the box. I believe it could be a little bit more now because I have switched to a different handle which is a little heavier, Then the OEM handle, and also this has some braid. Actually, we can check out the weight. Let's see. Let's change that to ounces. Yeah, so right now as the reel sits with the handle upgrade and a full spool, it weighs only 8.4 ounces, and that's super light. And another thing I found is that because this is the LT 2500D-XH, D actually stands for deep spool. So even though this spool is really small physically, the spool is actually quite deep and the line capacity is really good. And I managed to get a little over 200 yards of 10-pound Power Pro on this. You know, I don't really see myself needing anything more than that. Right, so that's some of the positive things about this reel. Now, the first negative thing that I want to speak about, and this is only relative to the country you live in, is the fact that this has one mag seal in it. Now, usually that's great news. Daiwa's mag seal system is awesome at keeping, stopping water intrusion into the reel. But the problem here is in the country that I live in, we do not have an authorized Daiwa agent to service the reels. So any reels that I own, that I use, whatnot, I have to service myself. Now, the problem is with mag seal, they use ferrofluid. You know, it's a magnetic fluid that is used inside the bearing to keep the water out. So once you dismantle the reel or take it apart, you need to refill the ferrofluid into the bearing. And this ferrofluid is not sold by Daiwa. That's something that, you know, you have to, usually you have to send it into a Daiwa agent, and they have the fluid and they will do the servicing and they send the reel back to you. So if you live in a country where you do not have an authorized Daiwa agent that can carry out the service for you, that may prove to be a problem. But just keep that in mind. If you're buying a mag sealed reel and you live in a country where you don't have an authorized Daiwa dealer, that might be a problem for you. The other thing that I found is that under heavy load, and I'm talking heavy load, like heavy cranking load, and I only felt this during using this reel for saltwater application. I noticed that while reeling it in under load, you can kind of feel very slight flex in the reel stem right here. And I'm talking like very slight, it's almost not noticeable, but I did notice that. Again, I don't see this as a big issue because when you're fighting a fish, you know, you can reduce the strain on the reel by adjusting your drag to the right amount. You know, obviously, if you know this is not meant to kill giant GTs and tuna and, you know, those saltwater species, you know, big saltwater species. This is more of a freshwater inshore finesse kind of reel, you know. So for all intensive purposes, if you plan to use it like that, trust me guys, you are going to be more than happy with this reel. It's not going to give you any problems. And you know, I was really surprised. The last big fish that I managed to catch on this reel was a big barramundi, and you know, I had a good fight with him. Obviously, you know, he was probably about 13 to 14 pounds, maybe slightly more even. And this reel, you know, anytime I wanted to, I was able to tighten the drag down and muscle that fish outer structure, and, you know, play with it without any issue. I didn't at any point feel like I was being overwhelmed by the fish, like the reel couldn't handle it. You know, when I needed the reel to, I was able to, you know, it got the job done. And that's really amazing, you know, because this is only a 2500 size reel. It's really small, barely, you know, just fits in the palm of my hands, as you can see.
Just reel again. Oh shit. Oh, come. On the small rod. Oh.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you joining us for another review, another episode. If you like the content, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. Tight line, guys.